Good evening, candidates and audience members. It's great to see a full house for this candidate forum. Thank you all for turning out. I am Stephanie Schlanger, and I will be your moderator for the evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Santa Fe County, I want to thank the Unitarian Universalist Congregation's Gail Mariner for providing this venue free of charge. And I'd like to invite Reverend Gail up here to say a few words to open.
Thank you and welcome everyone. It is wonderful having you here this evening. Welcome to the esteemed candidates for the City Council, and especially welcome to the League of Women Voters. Unitarian Universalists are guided by values and principles, and our fifth principle happens to affirm, and I quote, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process in our congregations and in the community at large. So hosting the League, the gold standard of nonpartisan voter education and support, is an honor. Every congregation I have served in for the past 30 years has been full of League members. I thought it was because of that fifth principle I just shared with you. Or maybe because Susan B. Anthony was a Unitarian. But I just discovered this evening, when I was doing a little homework, that Carrie Chapman Catt, who knows who Carrie Chapman Catt is, the founder of the League of Women Voters and an ardent advocate for women's rights and for world peace, happened to be a Unitarian as well. So, knowing that, we have been walking together and working on the same projects for over 105 years now, because that's how old you guys are as an organization. And I want to say, welcome home. It's great having you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's heartwarming, and I did not know that about Chapman Catt. That is excellent. That's excellent, excellent. The League also wants to express our gratitude to the Santa Fe New Mexican for broadcasting our candidate forums this year as a service to the community. Bill Church, editor of the Santa Fe New Mexican newspaper, would like to say a few words. Welcome, Bill.
Obviously, Reverend Gail has a little bit more experience on how to get up the steps and not trip over the cords. And by the way, Reverend Gail, I will be here, I believe, in a couple of weeks for a presentation and a discussion on freedom of speech, which is a perfect segue into why we're all here. So thank you for all being here. First, I want to thank the candidates. This is like speed dating beyond anything y'all had ever experienced. And I want to thank all of you. It is Tuesday. You are here dealing with what we call Santa Fe rush hour traffic, hint, hint, to be here to help part of the process. It is clear that there's a lot of interest in this election. And we are always honored to work with the League of Women Voters for the guide that they put out, which we are in the process right now of doing our work to make sure that it gets distributed, but also the diligence of the volunteers of the League of Women Voters. And I want to particularly thank Kelly Davis, who has been meeting with me and keeping me honest for most of this summer to make sure that this event takes place. You can see the live stream on our site. This is my only plug. Even if you're here, it'll be there later on. So thank you so much for being here, and we are honored to be one of the partners.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. This is a long-time partnership with the Santa Fe New Mexican, and we appreciate it. The League, as I think Henry was saying earlier, is committed to civil discourse. The candidates have agreed to follow the League protocols for candidate forums, including respecting the time limits for their responses, not engaging in crosstalk or criticizing another candidate, and being mutually respectful even when they disagree. The questions we ask will be selected or have been selected by our screening panel to focus on the issues that seem to generate the most interest. Questions that are similar have been consolidated, and questions that are directed to one candidate or contain a personal attack have been eliminated. Due to time constraints, not all questions can be answered, but we invite you to stay after the forum to talk with the candidates if they will be so kind as to spend a little time afterwards. We have gotten so many questions that we are now full of. We will not really have to be able to take any more for the next hour and a half. So thank you very much for having submitted your questions. Our timekeeper, Mary Shrubin, who's sitting in the front here, will let the candidates know when they have 30 seconds left to answer their question, and she will hold up a yellow warning sign. And when your time is up, she will hold up the red stop sign. At that point, I beg you to wind up your responses immediately so that I don't have to interrupt. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. In the interest of time, please save your applause until the end of the forum. Before I introduce the candidates, I'd like to review the responsibilities of the Santa Fe City Councilors. The City Council is the city's primary legislative body. It is responsible for adopting the city budget, levying taxes, and making or amending city laws, policies, and ordinances. Each of the 4 city council districts elects 2 city councilors to staggered 4-year terms. Candidates must be registered voters who reside within the district from which they are running. Tonight, there are 2 districts represented here, 1 and 2. Most questions will be addressed to all candidates, but there may be some for District 1 or District 2, and I will indicate that if that is the case. We will begin with 1-minute opening statements by the candidates, and we will conclude with 1-minute opening statements. So, let's get on with it. First, we are going to hear from District Candidate David Montoya with his opening remarks.
I'm David Montoya, and I'm running for City Council District Number 1. And a lot of people ask me why I'm running. And to be perfectly honest with you, I got really tired of watching the news every night and seeing what's happened to our country and what's happening to our democracy. And although I can't do anything about what's happening in D.C., I sure can do something about what's happening in my backyard. I'm the son of civil rights leaders. You know, my first act of defiance was going to the grocery store and looking for the lettuce or the grapes or the strawberries that had the United Farm Worker sign on the back of it. And I have lived that way ever since. I'm a veteran. I did 3 tours in Iraq. I worked for U.S. Senator Bingaman in D.C. and President Obama in D.C. as well. Right now, I'm involved in Zozobra. I'm also a member of the Fiesta Council, and I'm a volunteer firefighter. It's always been about service. It's always been about leaving things better than when you found it. And I really want to make my term in City Council to make a difference and to do whatever we can to Trump-proof our city. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Catherine Rivera. I am also a candidate for City Council for Santa Fe's District 1. I am a native of Santa Fe, and I was born and raised here, and I currently live on the same street that I grew up on. I know Santa Fe, and I've been involved in Santa Fe, and this journey to be on the City Council now is on my 4th year. After graduating from university, I spent time in private industry where I worked for a Fortune 157 company. And during that time, I was fortunate to see the country and I was fortunate to see the globe. That time has me in business operations where I have specialty and skill in internal audits, negotiations, contracts, budgeting, and especially budgets for complex projects. I look forward to this evening's conversation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pat Figali. I'm also running in District 1. There are 3 of us. I am a lawyer and an urban planner, and I spent the last 4 years working for the city of Santa Fe as an assistant city attorney. I am a policy nerd, as anyone who's talked to me probably knows. I will talk to you about zoning all day long, and right now we are redoing our land use code, which is where I get to talk about zoning all day long, and I am the person who would actually love to do that. So that is one of the reasons I'm running. I am not from Santa Fe. My parents who are here, they're immigrants. They came to the United States, and I was raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. When Trump was elected the first time, that started to feel like not the safest place to live. So I understand why people come to Santa Fe. I am one of them. I understand why people love it here, and I want to make it the best place that it can be for all of us and the safest place it can be.
Okay, can everybody hear me back there? Okay. My name is Paul Bustamante, and I'm running for City Council here in District 2. I was born and raised in Albuquerque. I graduated from West Mesa High School, and like I'd like to say, please don't hold that against me. My family has a long history here in Santa Fe and a long history of public service. I had many uncles in the military. My dad is a retired firefighter from Albuquerque Fire. My brother is a police officer in Rio Rancho, and I was a priest in Albuquerque. And my own journey in public service started right out of high school, where I went to work as a police service aide for Albuquerque Police Department. I spent 8 years in the military, and part of what I did in the military was help set policy for Air Mobility Command, which was one of the 2 largest commands in the Air Force. And I think it's that work experience during that time that is directly relatable to running a city government. And so I'm really hoping to earn your vote tonight. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Liz Baird, and I'm running in District 2, and I just want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, and just say thank you to all the women that came before us to pave the way for us to be here right now. I'm a mom, I'm a social worker, and I'm a trained problem solver. I have 20+ years of experience working in public service. I've worked in schools, I worked with veterans, I've worked in treatment programs and community agencies. I came to New Mexico over 20 years ago to do AmeriCorps in Albuquerque and work with Spanish-speaking survivors of domestic violence. I'm also a soccer coach, my daughter's soccer coach, and I wear many other hats. I'm running because I've noticed that working families are really struggling to stay afloat in Santa Fe. Families, like mine, are stretched thin, and housing has become so increasingly unaffordable that it's reached a crisis point. I'm running to change that. My campaign is focusing on affordability, livability, and sustainability. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aurora Martinez. I am a native Santa Fean, New Mexican as well. And I'm also a single mom. Well, I'm a single mom. And I'm raising my son in my grandfather's adobe home that he built with my father and my uncles. I do come from a family of veterans. I also have about 20 years in policy making, grant writing, social work, you name it. I have been doing this for quite some time, and I'm really excited to bring my skills to Santa Fe. I really want to bring the voice back to the people. That is why I'm running. We have had less and less over the last 8 years of our voices being heard of what we need and want in this city. I want to do that for you. I want to fight for you. I want to listen, and I want to learn. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leroy Trujillo. have a background in business, industry, logistics, and analytics. I grew up here in Santa Fe, and just looking at Santa Fe, I see the downfall that it's becoming. Our public facilities are in downfall, our infrastructure, our education, addiction, homelessness. Nothing is being addressed. I've spoken to my constituents and, one-on-one interactions on ways we could combat these issues. I have 15 years of team management, logistics, and I know how to operate different programs from business, helping individuals with addiction through community programs. And then I want to increase ways to better Santa Fe. Thank you.
So thank you very much, candidates, for your opening statements. The first question, we'll start again with Mr. Montoya, and we'll just move down the row. And this is a 2-minute question. Have you managed a business, government agency, or nonprofit? Please give the position, number of people supervised, and length of time you had that position, and whether you had input into the budget for your staff or entity. Mr. Montoya, we'll begin with you.
Just trying to pick which one. I have over 30 years of policy and public experience behind me. And probably what I would say is my time at the VA is probably the highest level position I've ever held. I was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the VA for Intergovernmental Affairs. And specifically, my responsibility was handling portfolios of veteran homelessness nationally, indigenous health care across the nation, and our relations with foreign governments, and our relations with the states and municipal governments. Things like standing up veterans courts, which is an alternative justice program for veterans, so that they don't go to jail right away, so that they actually get their problems, whether they're mental health or substance abuse, addressed instead of sentencing. Transforming the entire VA homelessness project from something that the VA would execute, which the VA does a lot of things well, solving homelessness is not one of them, to changing it into a grant program. That $850 million grant program reduced veteran homelessness by almost 40% in the year that I was there. So the people that I supervised probably about 30 people, mostly civil servants, and my relations with the state veterans, Director of Veterans Affairs, were something that I really went out there and met and visited with all of them so that we could align our policies at the VA on the healthcare side and also on the benefit side in order to improve delivery to veterans. So that it really is my passion. So that's that experience.
Thank you. Ms. Rivera?
Thank you for the question. As I mentioned earlier, I spent 33 years in private industry working for a Fortune 157 company. During that time, I spent all of that time in the business operations environment. That took me through the country with leading small teams of 10 to 25 people to ultimately having a national role and global integration role. In the national role, I was director and I was responsible for a staff of 300 throughout the country, and we were also a part of a global team that did systems integration throughout the globe. We were coordinating with other global teams throughout the globe, Europe and Asia, and during that time, I was one of the key leaders, part of the dream team that supervised many of the American task forces and task teams driving for the system improvements. Throughout that career, I also spent time in that same company doing acquisitions, mergers and acquisitions, where we were assigned small teams to go out and do due diligence on existing companies, where we had to look at their financials, we had to come up with the contracts, we had to assign what staff we were going to keep and what staff we were going to reassign. So it ran the gamut of all business operations, from financial to contractual to vendor management to HR and the like. So the answer, I've had teams that I've led from 10 to 15 people. I've led the country for 300 people and was part of thousands where we had a 1,000 force that did the global integrations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera. Ms. Figali.
Thank you for the question. So despite being a lawyer, I have a very sort of eclectic work history. I have been a business owner in several different capacities. I've renovated a building that was then used as an office building. I had staff for that building. I've co-owned a store, a retail store that had staff in that. And then I've owned my own law practice for many years. I've also done a lot of volunteering. I coordinated a big fundraising event back in Cincinnati where there were movies shown in the park. So that was dozens of volunteers that were necessary to put that together. And then here at the city, I have worked with outside counsel when I was a staff attorney. I've worked with departments, staff in those departments, and in the legislative office as well. So I have also, I'm in a band, and that involves coordinating people in a way that is often a little unpredictable. So a lot of different experiences and a lot of different kinds of oversight.
Thank you. Mr. Bustamante.
So right now I'm a stay-at-home dad, which is an awesome job with my 9-year-old daughter. But before that, I've had about 24 years experience working for the government, both at the city level and at the federal level. And one of the things I did during that time as a staff sergeant in the United States Air Force is I was assigned to U.S. Transportation Command. And during that time, it was right before Y2K, we set one of the largest computer testing operations in well, the history during the time that I was in there. And this required coordinating huge operation across all branches of the military. So I'm familiar with setting up large-scale operations. In fact, I received a medal for that, Joint Service Achievement Medal. I've also worked at the laboratory, Los Alamos, thank you. And during that time, when I worked at the research library, I was responsible for ordering multi-million dollars worth of equipment. I dealt with vendors frequently, and I had to keep track of the budget for our office and for the library in terms of our expenses and expenditures for computer support and computer services. So that's where the majority of my experience in relation to this question comes from. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett.
Okay, so my answer might sound a little different. First and foremost, I'm a mom, so I manage the household, I manage the budget, I manage the hubby, just kidding, little joke there. I manage the kids, so I think that gives me some experience there. Also, I work in a school, I've worked at nonprofits, so I've managed a caseload of 65 kids with IEPs, with disabilities, while also being the school counselor, while also running the student wellness team that monitored the truancy and attendance of 350 students and the well-being of those students and getting them resources, whether it be food, coats, other kinds of necessities. I also started a sports program at my old school and my new school, a Special Olympics Unified Schools program where students with and without disabilities play sports together, because that did not exist before in the schools. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
I actually do have quite a bit of experience with state government, federal government, and city government. What I do in my business right now, what I started with my partner was we basically go into state agencies, most of them. We teach them how to be compliant with the budget that they have. We teach them how to understand the policies and regulations that they already have. These state agencies usually they're not doing so well in their programs. So we try to bring this to a little bit more plain spoken so that way the employees can understand. We also write policies, and then we also get them to the point where they can grant fund. So usually what that means with grant funding is budget has to be extremely followed to a T, especially federal funding. This is something that I do in my business every day. The reason why I do it in my business is because starting off at DOT, at the traffic monitoring, which I did manage for a brief period, was because you have to be creative. Creative in the sense that at the time, there was $40,000 for this program. This is the program that does the data analysis to fix our roads. The state gives us that money to fix our roads. So we needed more money. Dealing with the counters, they're about $300 million, and we needed to come up with more money. So we had to learn how to write grants, we had to follow them, do our budget, and we also oversaw all of the road crew. Then at DFA, after that, I did the same thing. I taught state agencies and local governments how to do this very thing that City Council does. So I do have that experience. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Trujillo.
Yes, I've been self-employed most of my life. I have over 10 years experience in logistics, analytics, business startup, from brick and mortar shops to multiple online businesses, from inventions to manufacturing with foreign countries, so I know how foreign relationships, understand business, what an individual needs, how to understand market trends. So I could look at a city, understand what it's lacking, what it needs, and ways to build it up through research, data, analytics, and building, and a lot of research. And I've managed over 30 multiple teams of 30 individuals that I built myself when it comes to marketing, guerrilla marketing, social media marketing. So I know how to do research and understand problems and solve them.
Thank you. This time we will start with Ms. Rivera and work our way down the line. This is a 1-minute question. What are your top 5 priorities for Santa Fe's city budget?
Top 5 priorities for Santa Fe's city budget. What I've mentioned to many is that I think the #1 expense that we're going to have to plan for and address is the water treatment plant. If that water treatment plant is not functional and a new one is not built, we will not be able to sustain our current situation, much less any growth. So the #1 thing for budget, I think, is the water treatment plant. The second thing for budgeting, in my opinion, is figuring out the facilities to address the homeless and the treatment surrounding the homeless and drug addictions, et cetera. The following 3 would probably come into the parks, making sure the parks are funded, and I think the other 2 priorities would probably, be in line in general with the infrastructure, making sure our roads are fully funded, especially Airport Road, which is a mess. I think there was 4, but I would put the 3rd one in the quality of life category.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Fegali.
Thank you. So as far as where the money would go, I think #1, roads and infrastructure is something that we all know needs to be addressed. So filling potholes, making our sidewalks usable, that is top priority. Water treatment plant, I agree with Catherine, that is it's going to be a big expense, and it's really important, because if we don't have a water treatment plant, we don't have a city. We can't live here. So that has to be high on the list. Addressing homelessness is big. We're going to need some facilities to house people, and also probably some treatment facilities. So that's going to take some money and some time. And then I'm going to say our libraries, they need to be open on Sundays. They need to be open more. We can do a lot more programming. We can have a lot more access for folks in this town. And then also our transit system. Our buses don't all run right now. We don't have enough drivers. We don't have enough routes. We don't have enough frequency. We need to work on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bustamante.
So I would say my top priorities for the budget, first and foremost, we need to get a consistent source of funding for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Right now, we put about $3 million a year, but it's kind of a come-as-may sort of thing. There's no consistent budget line item for that, so we need to find funding and actually increase what we put in there now. The transit system, as mentioned, we are not anywhere near where we were pre-pandemic stages in terms of getting our routes back, in terms of getting service out to people. We need to hire personnel and build up our facilities, especially for our first responders. They are stuffed to the gills in their facilities they have and actually can't expand right now because they don't have anywhere to put people. We need to address our homelessness in terms of better temporary housing with wraparound facilities. And of course, that water treatment plant. We need to stop kicking the can down the road and get that thing built. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett.
My top issue that I'm running on, and I know that District 2 constituents really care about, is affordable housing, like others have mentioned. We probably need to double down or triple down in the Affordable Housing Trust with how much money we're putting in there. Number 2 would be the unhoused folks that we have in town, things like investing in the pallet shelters, in a built-for-zero model of housing first for unhoused individuals, treatment, substance abuse, mental health treatment, then infrastructure, roads, parks, and then last for me would be transit. I would love to make the bus free. These issues are all connected. I know our unhoused individuals living in the city need transit to move around. They also need money towards affordable housing so they could have a stable place to live and then receive treatment. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
Housing is probably the first and foremost due to it's all interconnected. Homelessness, we have so many city workers right now that are on the brink of actually being evicted. So it's not just homeless, it's also connected with everything that's going on. We need to make housing a little bit more attainable. I've already come up with a couple of models that I've created myself that I do think would work for the housing. The other thing that I think is obviously the unhoused. They, like I said, they're interconnected. They need to have wraparound services. We need to come together as communities, all districts, and it would be best if we can all community-led. The other thing would be families and youth. We have so much youth that have nothing to do, nowhere to go, and we need to provide this all over every single district, not just 1 or 2. The other one would be Parks and Rec, and transit the last one. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trujillo.
I'm going to speak up on not what I want to do, on what my constituents want. We're speaking over multiple hundreds of individuals on a poll that I've done internally. Our top main issues are affordable housing, poverty, affordable housing, crime, drugs, roads, infrastructure, traffic, economy, and the cost of living and taxes. The way I want to address homelessness and poverty is by creating a diversion program, building a facility. This has worked in multiple cities around the U.S. and the world by building facilities, creating jobs for the homeless, and then with affordable housing, tackling the permit system so we could conduct competition amongst the monopoly corporations that are taking over Santa Fe and allow streamline the permit system so individuals could, individual local contractors can provide competition to provide affordable housing and then tackle roads and economy through jobs and small businesses.
Thank you. And Mr. Montoya.
Right now, we're in the middle of a housing crisis. Over the last 8 years, rents have gone up by 78%. So housing really is, and affordability really are my priorities right out of the gate. If you're going to build on city land, it's going to be either for affordable housing or for workforce housing. People that work in Santa Fe can't afford to live in Santa Fe. Heck, we have 70% of our police force that can't afford to live here. So how are we going to do this? We're going to go ahead and we're going to enforce the short-term rental laws. We have about 1,000 illegally renting short-term rentals, and we're going to put those back into the long-term rental pool. We're also going to take a look at second and third homes, particularly those owned by people that are from out of state. If you're from out of state and you own a home, it's a public safety issue at that point. So we're gonna charge you something, and we're going to use that to fund affordable housing. I'm calling it my Texas tax. So let's tax the Texans.
Just want to remind people to please hold their applause until the end.
The other thing that I want to talk about is I also want to talk about solving homelessness.
Okay.
Homelessness is up by over 80%, and we have to address that. I support the ROC, which is the...
Mr. Montoya, we're running out of time.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, sorry. Stop.
Thank you, thank you. This next question, we will start with Ms. Figali, and we will move down the line. It's a 2-minute question. What is your vision for the Midtown campus?
The Midtown campus, actually, I don't know how many people know this, but has a master plan already. And it's a really good master plan. I've read it, I've worked on it a little bit. It's to make Midtown a mixed-use, walkable, livable community where people work, live. There's going to be a plaza there. There's going to be a movie theater, and the Garson Theater will be renovated eventually. Bolton Library will be renovated, and Santa Fe Art Institute is already there, and NADA is working on their proposal, which will be going to governing body hopefully in the next month or two. So I would like to see that master plan carried out. I would like us to have 1,000 or more new residences in that area, 30% of which at least will be affordable, as per our affordable rental outline. And yeah, I think the plan that we have is a really good one. It's taking a while, but it will be good if we can get it built. We are making progress towards that, which is being a little slow.
Thank you. Mr. Bustamante.
So I have looked at the master plan as well, and it is a good plan, but I think it's too broad right now. I think we need to look at the entirety of what they want to do with that and really focus on a few things. First and foremost, affordable housing, and not just housing, but what type of housing that we're going to allow to build there. You know, there was an excellent presentation recently from the HomeWise Livability talking about missing middle housing. And some of the housing that they talked about, duplexes, quads, courtyards, this is housing that we have right now in Santa Fe in some of the most desirable areas of town, some of the most expensive areas in town. So why can't we build that? And that's where we need to look at our procurement system. We need to look at our permit system. And we need to use this Midtown project to help guide us for future projects in order to get these things built faster. The other thing that I think that we need to do is looking at how we've had two heads of this project quit in frustration. And part of that is because of our permitting and red tape. But we also need, as a city, we need to learn to stop micromanaging things. We need to hire people that we trust and then get out of their way so they can do their job. And that's what we need to do in Midtown. We need to get this project done and get out of the way of the people who are doing the work for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett?
So I'm really excited when I think about what's going on at Midtown. It's not far from my house. I can't wait to bike ride there, to walk there with my family. In the beginning of the conversation today, I said my campaign is all about affordability, livability, sustainability. And when I think of Midtown, those are three things I think of. There's going to be 30% affordable housing, probably more than most projects that are ever in Santa Fe. For livability, there's going to be a library, there's going to be a movie theater, there's going to be food, there's going to be a center for gatherings. I would love, like Aurora mentioned before, there's not enough for the kids to do around Santa Fe. I would love some kind of outdoor sports complex where kids could kick the soccer ball around, where we could have more children's activities. And then sustainability. There is going to be a whole solar farm, I believe, on the top of the Aspect Media Village. And it looks amazing. It looks beautiful. I would love to live there from what I've seen so far. So it's very exciting to me. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
So going door to door in my neighborhood and areas like it, I have a lot to say because the people in these areas that live right by Midtown have pretty much said they didn't want the master plan. They didn't ask for that master plan. They wanted more housing for people, and not just apartments. They wanted casitas. They wanted places where their children can play in the front yard or the backyard. They felt like they didn't have a voice. This was something that I think that we need to come back to, is where are the people, what are they saying? When are we going to listen to everybody? These are people that live in the neighborhood. This is going to change their whole entire community. It could even cause displacement. So I really do think that we need to come back to the table a little bit and ask the people that are living in these surrounding neighborhoods what they want. We also have MRC, so this is a great time where we have the opportunity to build real workforce housing for people who run the city day to day. They are essential. They're not just firefighters, they're not just policemen, they're teachers, they're caseworkers, they're behavioral health. We need more housing for the people who run the city day to day. This is a perfect opportunity for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trujillo.
When it comes to Midtown campus, this isn't about my vision. This is about your vision. I spoke to hundreds of constituents within the area, and I did an internal poll, and 99% of individuals would like to use the facility for themselves, such as using the gym, the pool, the library, the weight room, and other facilities that the building has to offer. And the 1% that I spoke with, they want to turn it into a homeless camp. And then the other 99% that I've spoke with, they said they do not want it. They do not want affordable housing, and they do not want low-income housing there, because it's right next to the middle school, it's right next to the high school, the library, and right now, as it resides with the low-income project right now, that's right there. It's causing a lot of problems with the neighborhoods. Individuals are going walking up and down the greenbelt. It's right. The greenbelt is the arroyo that goes from that area to all the way up to Siringo Road to the trails, and all those constituents have told me the problems that even the couple of low-income housing that is there right now is causing a problem. So like I said, 99% of individuals would like to use the facility, sports for the teens, etc.
Thank you. Mr. Montoya.
So the Midtown campus provides us with a unique opportunity to really make some change and make a dent in what I like to say is our crisis in affordability. Right now, it's only 30% slated for affordable housing. We need, if you're going to build on city land, if you're going to build on school land, you're going to build on county land, you're going to build residences, 100% either has to be affordable or workforce housing. You only have to drive between here and Albuquerque in the morning or in the afternoon to see the pilgrimage of people that had a forced economic migration out of the city, right? So real estate and home building is artificially inflated. If the city is going to put in infrastructure using bonding and revenue bonds and infrastructure bonds, we're going to be able to reduce the cost of this. I also support keeping Consuelo's Place, which is one of the things that works when we're addressing homelessness, where it is right now. I can't say enough about that. But if we're going to go ahead and build homes there, I don't want them to be market rate homes. I want to be homes for workers, for the things that do make Santa Fe great. Whether you're a city worker, a state worker, a cop, or a fireman, those things are important to have folks that actually live here doing those things, and have Santa Feans actually afford to live in Santa Fe. Imagine that concept. And so that really is what we should be achieving with this. And if we're going to build apartments there, I want to see more condos. I believe that home ownership, condominium ownership, is really a path to economic freedom and wealth. And so I really have got to say, I can't say enough about that rents continue to go up, and what we need to do is we need to provide opportunities for home ownership for working people in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rivera.
I will share with you a vision of something that I saw in the country of Singapore. In Singapore, nobody commutes. Things are built in Singapore in such a way where people work, and there's healthcare, and there's food, and there's shopping, and there's childcare. They live there, they play there, they stay there. It's not a compound, and it's not a project or projects. This is how Singapore works. Singapore's small, it's an island, and they rely on outside folks for resources. The closest vision we're going to have to making something like that happen in Santa Fe is the Midtown campus. So I agree that we have a master plan, and we need to follow some of that master plan. However, I would like to see more affordable units there. I would like to have a better choice of developers who are going to get us to that affordability sooner than later. I would like to see healthcare there. I would like to see childcare there, and I would like to see family-friendly units there. Santa Fe has a unique opportunity in this Midtown campus to do that. The only other place we're going to be able to do something unique like this would be outside in the sprawl in a vacant land. I would like to see Santa Fe take advantage and have something where everybody can live, work, and stay, and it should be affordable. My other suggestion is that Santa Feans should probably be the ones to get first right of refusal to move in to the finished units when they're ready.
Thank you. This next question, we're going to start with Mr. Bustamante. It's a fast one. It's a yes or no. Okay? Should the mayor be able to vote on all issues before the council or only in case of a tie?
Only in case of a tie. How was that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
okay,
That's
okay,
it. That's it. Go, go, go.
Case of a tie.
Case of a tie.
In case of a tie, it depends on the city's charter and local laws and policies that are being implemented in front of the council.
Your turn.
I'd rather have them not vote at all, but yeah, in case of a tie, or give them the veto power.
In case of a tie, or if needed for a quorum.
Same answer, in case of a tie.
Thank you all. That was very orderly. Okay, next question will be a 2-minute question. We're going to start with Ms. Barrett. This question is, I'm forgetting my mic. What is your definition of public safety, and what can the City Council do to improve it?
Okay. Well, my definition of public safety comes from a mom perspective. I want, in District 2, my children to be able to walk to their grandparents' house and feel safe. I want them to be able to ride their bikes to Frogurt, right near our house, and feel safe. To walk the Arroyo and feel like they don't have to have a phone with them to call me, just to feel that internal calm that my children can be independent in my city and not have to constantly be worrying. What can we do about that? Well, number one, as I think David mentioned at the beginning, only 30% of our Santa Fe police force reside in Santa Fe. I think that's a problem. I think you should be able to call the police any time of day. And I mentioned this before at another forum. I've had to call police before in the evening where they're tied up. I've felt not secure and not safe in my own community, and I've also had to call, and I don't think that's okay. Now, I think this all ties back, which we've all mentioned in multiple forums, this all ties back to the issue of affordability, that essential workers in many cases cannot afford to live in Santa Fe, and that's a problem. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez.
Public safety. It's not just for our youth. It's not just for our elders. It's also for our day-to-day workers. And let me explain this real quick. Every day, children should be safe to play in their front yard, play in their backyard. I live in the Hopewell Man neighborhood. It is quite, it has high crime. I'm on the public safety committee, so I get these statistics every month. It is quite high. I don't let my son play out there alone. I wouldn't even allow an elder to be out there alone sometimes. This is something that needs to stop. We need to have substations at every park like we used to. every school, because we all understand that at schools there's some frightening things happening at the schools right now that is scary. So this would also help with housing. This would help with some of the housing that the police are having a hard time with. The other thing that I would like to talk about is the everyday worker. Took 5 years for the union to get the signed agreement signed. 5 years that they have been working, not totally covered, not climate covered, and we need to take care of our everyday workers because, again, they run our city. So these are some of the things that I think public safety-wise, we need to always be careful about who is working in our neighborhoods, who is living in our neighborhoods, and who we are taking care of. Like I said, I really do believe that bringing back substations is really important to the schools as well and the parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trujillo.
Public safety starts with being interactive with the community and seeing what the community needs and addressing those issues, such as drug houses around our districts, speeding zones, individual attacks on the trails. And the way to do that is, policy and oversight with city councils. If we need certain policies implemented that the community is requesting, work with the police. As a city councilman, I could work with the police to implement certain policies. In budget allocation, if there's certain areas of hot spots in our district that need attending, I could request a budget allocation for these certain areas, and then appointments and approvals. Like I said, work with the community, see what you guys need, be interactive with you one-on-one, and and address the issues within a timely manner, and speak with you in a timely manner. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Montoya.
This is one of my top priorities, is public safety. And we are also I don't feel safe all the time in Santa Fe. And I don't think a lot of people feel the same way. I think that we are manned at, about 176 police right now. And cities our size have police forces of about 225. So probably when you talk about the immediate things that we would do is we would have to plus up our police force. We'd also have to plus up our alternative response unit so that we could free the police to really respond to crime. Sometimes you actually need a social worker to respond to communities in crisis. And I think that we need to invest in that piece. We also need to invest in technology, traffic cameras, drones. I'm talking about those things that are real force multipliers when you're enforcing the law. Upstream causes, because this didn't happen overnight. Our parks have been neglected, our public spaces are unsafe, there is drug paraphernalia everywhere. We need to clean up our parks. And we need to invest in projects and programs for youth diversion. There isn't enough for young families to do in this city. And so parks, athletics, those things need to be a priority for us as well. Those are the long-term causes of crime. I never got in trouble in high school, at least not too much. My mom could attest to that. She's there in the audience. Because I was always playing sports, or I was always doing activities. We need to provide those opportunities for our citizens. And not just U.S. citizens. We need to be able to have immigrants feel safe when they call the police, feel safe when they call fire, knowing that they're there to help. They're not there to enforce any sort of weird federal law on them. We also need to have 911 and regional emergency center operators that speak Spanish, and always have someone on staff, always have someone on shift, so that we can serve all the people of Santa Fe. That's about it.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Rivera.
I like what a few people up here have said, a few of the candidates have said, that it's about feeling. How safe do you feel in Santa Fe? How safe does anyone feel in Santa Fe, whether you're whatever age you are, or whether you're a local or whether you're a tourist? I think that feeling means a lot. So to me, public safety is not only a feeling, but it's also a look and feel of this city. One of the big complaints that I've heard in going through the thousands of doors that I've done in District 1 is the concern about the response. Are we getting a response? When do they respond? When don't they respond? But the bigger complaint is the regional center. Folks have called the regional center and they said, why are you calling us with this when there's a homicide happening over there? So the regional center, which is owned by the county, Santa Fe needs to work closely with the county to figure out what better support and customer service are we going to give the citizens of the city and the county. And it starts with that regional center. I will tell you, in speaking to many neighborhoods in District 1, especially off of Bishop's Lodge Road, there are some very questionable things happening at 3 o'clock in the morning. We haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet. We don't know if it's drug trafficking or if it's human trafficking. But there are vans showing up at night, things getting distributed, folks from the neighborhoods are calling it in, and these are not your average neighborhoods, these are gated communities. So the criminals are here, they're taking advantage of these gated communities, and it's causing this big question as to whether Santa Fe has the right technology, has the right staffing, has the right tools to actually look into these situations and make us all feel a little bit safer.
Thank you. Ms. Figali.
Thank you. As some of my fellow candidates have said, public safety is how you feel. It's how you feel at your home, in your neighborhood, and also when you're out in the community, on our roads and on our streets. And right now, I believe you are much more likely to be killed by a car than by another person intentionally trying to do you harm. So one of the things we really need to address for our public safety is the safety of our roadways and our sidewalks. I almost got hit by a car yesterday near the plaza, at a crosswalk, at a four-way stop, by a guy in a giant pickup truck who just rolled through the stop sign while I was crossing the street. In case that ever happens to you, if you yell, they can hear you, even if they're in their cars. So he heard me and he stopped. But that's a major concern. And you know, if we have kids who are out in their neighborhoods, if we have kids who are trying to get to school by walking or by bike or even by bus, they still need to walk to get somewhere. We need to make that safe. So, you know, we also do have some issues with our police response. We do need to have more traffic enforcement, be that cameras or just officers actually giving speeding tickets and ticketing people for running red lights. And we do need to get more of our alternative response unit. We need them to have more staffing, more hours, more ability to respond. A lot of the things that are tying up police time are things that the alternate response unit could deal with, and that would give the police officers more time to deal with crime and perhaps traffic enforcement if we can't do that by camera. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bustamante.
So again, yes, it does come down to feel. You know, somebody should feel safe being able to walk the streets at night, especially in and around the plaza or actually any neighborhood. We should be able to feel like we can ride our bikes without taking our lives into our own hands. With my background and my family's background, one of the first things I did when I decided to run was reach out to the chiefs of the fire and the police departments. And so I was able to speak with Chief Moya, Chief Johnson at the fire department. I was able to speak with Chief Joy, Chief Grundler, and Chief Valdez at the police department. And what they said, I asked them all straight out, what can we do as a city to help you better? And it's not going to be a surprise, the number one answer was affordable housing. And we've addressed that because so many of our first responders can't live in Santa Fe. And there's another thing that is caused by that, and that is a lack of trust between the community and our first responders. When your first responder is your neighbor or your Little League coach, you develop a relationship with them. You know them from seeing them around town, from seeing them at church. And we're not giving our first responders that opportunity. Another thing that was brought up is the lack of facilities. Chief Moya told me that he would love to have a fire station, say near Presbyterian Hospital, somewhere on the south side. We need more firefighters, but he doesn't have anywhere for them to sleep. So we need to expand our facilities. We also need to do that for the police department. Right now, their evidence storage is stuffed like an episode of Hoarders. And that's important because that they have space to get in there, and they have a good inventory tracking system, because we've lost cases because of evidence or lack of evidence. So we really need to help our police department and our fire department by giving them the money they need to expand their facilities so they can provide better service for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll be back. Stretch your legs. Take a deep breath. Welcome back. We're going to start this next round with Ms. Martinez, and it's a 2-minute question. What ideas do you have for expanding the availability of affordable housing in Santa Fe?
All right, this one is really fun for me. I have actually been working on a model, several models, but this one is where the city would be able to buy a home. We have kind of an issue with water here, so this is why. We have a water issue. We don't want to be overdeveloping right now, especially when we don't know when our water is going to come, how much water we have. We have available housing all over Santa Fe in every single district. If the city were to be able to buy a home for a family, bring down that price, yes, they'll be buying a house for $575, bring it down to sell to a city worker, but they have to show that they are a city worker or someone that lives in the county, then you would be able to, and how do we make money off of housing? It's usually interest, correct? So once that interest is already happening, that is how the city makes back its money. So we'll be able to provide the housing for a city worker. Then when they're about ready to sell, give them a little bit of equity, but we put a resale cap on that. This is going to help with some of the housing issues that we already have. Give a family-friendly home to a city worker that can prove that they're here. That is the one idea that I have. The others are for displacement in affordable apartments. I've talked to several workers who are almost ready to be evicted from their home. They're a full-time worker, yet they also have several jobs. So full-time workers, 2 jobs on the side. These are for displacement. We have plenty of apartments that we can temporarily put a house worker so they're not evicted from their home, so they're not homeless and becoming homeless. We can actually take care of our people here by using what we already have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trujillo.
Repeat the question one more time.
The question is, what ideas do you have for expanding the availability of affordable housing in Santa Fe?
This comes back to basic business principles. Having more supply than there is demand, because right now there's more demand than there is supply, and so we need to streamline the permit system so local contractors can build the houses that we need to give these big monopoly corporations taking over Santa Fe. We need to give these local contractors the permits to give a competitive market to lower prices down, and also raise the quality of houses being built. Because right now, from speaking with constituents, contractors, right now the only individuals that are being allowed to build in Santa Fe are big monopoly corporations that are controlling the market and controlling the prices. And we're never going to bring prices down unless there's a competitive market with other contractors and other small developers that are giving these individuals competition. So I want to streamline the permit system, individuals that are applying for permits, make it a more rapid system, see what's holding the permits up and address those issues, and do maybe like an interactive app system where these contractors could check out the progress of their permit and make sure it doesn't go on longer than a couple weeks, because right now these individuals are getting denied. And so I don't know if there's corruption going on within the permit system, but it seems like the permits are only being sold to big monopoly corporations, and that needs to stop. And I want to address that along with the constituents that are backing me and along with individuals that are getting denied.
Thank you. We'll come back up here to Mr. Montoya.
There are things that we could do right away to increase the inventory of houses. The first thing is that there are about 1,000 illegally operating short-term rentals in this city. We should immediately start enforcing the short-term rental regulations and laws. And if you're cutting corners and cheating and you don't have a permit, well, then you need to stop operating. And you need to put those, either do one of 2 things: put those back into the long-term rental market, or apply for a permit. And if you apply for a permit, if you're from here and your residence is in New Mexico, you should be in front of the line for any future STR permits. The other thing that we have is we have a lot of second and third homes. 2,000 to 3,000 is what I'm told. And what I would do is I would actually charge those an additional fee, kind of like almost like a city. If you don't live here, if you live in another state, I would actually charge you an out-of-state, almost city property tax. So right now we're at about 2,000 average property tax a year in Santa Fe. So what that means and what that translates to is if we have 2,000 unoccupied homes and we charge about property tax is about $500 a month, we're going to raise the $10 million that we need to put in the housing fund. So all the proceeds to permitting, all the proceeds to penalties related to operating illegally are going to go directly into our housing fund. The other thing that we need to do is we need to embrace alternate building methods. We need to embrace modular homes. We need to embrace manufactured homes. And we need to put it on city land so that we can drive down the cost of housing. The other thing that we need to do is we need to fast-track permits and projects that are going towards affordable or workforce housing. You shouldn't have to wait 2 years if you're trying to help solve the housing crisis. These are our priorities when we look at development. And we need to be very strict, especially when we're talking about city land, that you're either building an affordable home, if you want to build an apartment complex, they also have to be condos.
Okay, I have to stop you there, Mr. Montoya. Ms. Rivera.
One of the big questions that I have about affordable housing and the growth of these large-scale developments that are happening is why are some developers only able to give us 24 units out of 244, where another developer is able to give us 240 units, and they're all affordable? Now, affordable means something different to everyone, but you get the idea. What is it about those developers that can give us more units? What are they doing that we cannot do? All of those developers, both of those examples, are out-of-state developers. What is it that the local developers do not know? What is it in their capital stack and financing, in their bag of tricks that they have that we don't have? Santa Fe needs to get to the bottom of that. Santa Fe needs to work with developers that will give us a higher percentage of affordable units. Santa Fe needs to incentivize them to come and build what we need. And I think that is a better start than having 100 development projects out there to only get 100 units. The other issue with Santa Fe is we've got some serious missed opportunities. If any of you remember the Western Scene Motel on Cerrillos Road, it went through a series of issues, family issues, state of disrepair, the property sold for a dime, and we now have a lovely car wash. I have nothing against car washes, but my question is that really what Santa Fe needs? So we have a lot of vacant properties all through town, commercial and residential properties that we need to look at prioritizing to figure out how can we get those units available to the people of Santa Fe. The bigger challenge we're going to have is dealing with the market. You guys are familiar with the saying, it's the economy stupid. Well, it's the market stupid. We cannot change the market, but the question is, how does Santa Fe get in front of that, and how does Santa Fe get first right of refusal for some of these properties?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Figali.
Thank you. So this is where our land use code rewrite really comes into focus. Right now we're redoing our general plan, which is our future plan for the city, and we're also redoing the land use development code. We can allow for there to be a lot more housing in Santa Fe. We can allow for people to build additional casitas and additional units on their current lots to build ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and also to have more of this middle missing housing that Paul talked about earlier, duplexes, triplexes, compounds. Santa Fe was built on infill housing. The rail yard where I live, I live in the old house. There are 4 condos behind mine. My entire street is like that. All of, Canyon Road area is like that. And we don't allow that anymore. And that's part of the reason why we are having such a hard time building inside of the city, because a lot of these lots already have a house on them, but they still have a lot of room. So that's one way we can address that. Another thing that we can do that I don't think anyone has mentioned is that Santa Fe can build, well, Aurora mentioned it a little bit, but we can build employee housing. We can build city housing on city property, rent it to our employees. We know how much money they make. We can rent it to them for a percentage of their income, and keep our workforce that works for the city, that works for the public, living in Santa Fe. When I was at the city, I had a lot of coworkers who lived in Tesuque, who lived in Rio Rancho, even some like up in the mountains, you know, like far out. So yeah, we need to have people be able to live here. We can address that in the land use code, and we can address that through the city building its own housing.
Thank you. Mr. Bustamante.
So I think there's three things that we need to look at when we're starting to talk about affordable housing. First and foremost, I think the fee and lieu option has been a failure. And you may be aware of this. I was recently fact-checked in the New Mexican for a statement I made earlier where I said that every developer who's been given this option has used it. Well, it turns out there were 2 that did not since 2016. So I was pretty close. The problem with this is that it's what people think it is. They buy their way out of affordable housing. When they're building a new apartment complex, they're supposed to provide a certain percentage of affordable units. We are not getting these units because they keep using the fee and lieu option. And I've been told by multiple people, well, if you get rid of it, it's going to stifle construction. And my response to them is always, we don't need another gray and white box that nobody can afford to live in. Rents in Santa Fe have continued to rise astronomically. So we need to take a look at this and either get rid of it or make it so expensive an option that developers are going to be hesitant to use it. The other thing we need to look at is short-term rentals. As Mr. Montoya said, as the current city code stands, we're only supposed to have 1,000 within residentially zoned areas. But there's no cap for short-term rentals outside of these areas. So units that are in mixed-term zones, in light industrial zones, we have no cap. If you go to a site called AirDNA, they show well over 2,000 short-term rentals available in Santa Fe right now. And the problem is because we don't enforce it, we can't enforce it. We have 2 people in the office that enforce this right now. And the worst that somebody's going to pay is a $500 fine, and that's on a 3rd offense. So if you're running a short-term rental for 3 or 4 months and raking in a little bit of money, you're not going to care about that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Barrett.
Okay, thanks. So I know I've talked about this at a couple other forums, but this affordable housing topic is actually personal for me. My husband and I, we commuted probably 10 years up to Santa Fe. We both worked in Santa Fe public schools, and we didn't think we could afford a house here. So I know many people here are talking about workforce housing, and that's a part of my story, right? I'm a social worker. I work in the schools. I didn't think I could afford to live here. So about 10 years ago, we were lucky enough to buy through HomeWise, where we could get help to buy our home. And my husband grew up here, and we were able to buy a house in the same neighborhood where his parents live, which was amazing for childcare, right? Which also ties into all this affordability stuff. So many of our public school workers, and this is one of the main things that motivated me to run, cannot live here, you guys. Many public school workers, firefighters, all different kinds of essential workers cannot afford even a starter home in Santa Fe, and that is a huge issue. If we want our brightest and best to live here and teach children, if we want firefighters to put out fires, if we want to call the police in the middle of the night, they have to be able to afford to live here. Number one, we need to triple down on the Affordable Housing Trust. Like Paul said before, we put about $3 million per year. We need $10 million in the Affordable Housing Trust. This helps with down payments, rental assistance, all these kinds of things. We need infill, like Pat said. We need density. We need to be building all over Santa Fe where buildings are not in use, in between other buildings, right? all these things. We need to cut red tape. We need to get out of our own way. I don't know how many constituents going door to door say, what is the deal with this? Why does housing take so long? So we need to get out of our way and let people who are professionals do their job and not keep stopping it up over and over. So those are some of my solutions. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, you knew it was coming. A very short question. Yes, excuse me, very short question. And we'll start with Mr. Trujillo. This will be our last question before the closing statements. What is your position on the obelisk?
My position on the obelisk is I support it. I work with Daniel Ortiz on the events that he throws at regarding with the Buffalo Soldiers, the Union soldier, and talking information with about the Union soldiers that saved the Battle of Glorieta. So I'm actually involved with that a little bit with Mr. Daniel Ortiz. So I support it. I support our culture. I'm against slavery. I'm for the I'm for the battle that won against slavery and defeated the Confederates. And I'm for all our culture in New Mexico and about saving it and preserving it.
Thank you.
Rebuilding it to what it was and getting it remodeled.
Thank you. Mr. Montoya.
I've taken a position on this on day one. I'm a combat veteran. I served in the Air Force, went 3 times to the Middle East. This Soldiers Monument, which is the name of it, not the obelisk, the Soldiers Monument, honors veterans from New Mexico that fought and stood up and gave their lives against slavery. We have the distinction of being the only community in the United States to tear down a monument that honored the Union side. Think about that. And it was torn down during the Black Lives Matter movement. Think about that too. So I stand for putting the Soldiers Monument back the way it was before activists chose violence to tear it down. In this country, we should never choose violence, especially against a helpless memorial like that, So
Okay.
I hope that someday, if they ever make a monument or a memorial to the folks that I served with in the military, that my grandkids, who will now afford to live in Santa Fe after we solve this affordability problem, will also stand up for their ancestors, just like I am on this one. History is not pretty. History is ugly. History is not perfect. But we shouldn't destroy our history because we'll be doomed to repeat it.
Thank you. Ms. Rivera.
I've been blessed to travel internationally, and I will tell you that people recognize Santa Fe. They recognize Santa Fe for being unique and for being historic. And I maintain that Santa Fe should be a leader in all things history. I agree with David Montoya. We are the only city that had a monument to Union soldiers, and it got taken down. I believe it should be resurrected in the same spot, where possible, with additional language, education, verbiage surrounding the area so that people understood how we got there, what it stood for, why it came down, and why Santa Fe chose to be a leader in the history and put it back up.
Thank you. Ms. Figali.
There is not a consensus for what we should do with the obelisk. So I am not here to, tell people what we should do. I think we still need to be listening to the community and getting voices. But regardless, if we do rebuild it, which my understanding is that the pieces that were there before the actual obelisk has been destroyed, there are pieces missing. If it's going to be put back up the way it was, it would need to be reformed. So if we're going to rebuild an obelisk, I think that it should be done with input and with the help of the community, including the people who disagree with it existing, so that we can make it some kind of healing process. And I think that we do need to have information on the plaza, whether we put it back up or not, about the entire history of the obelisk, why it went up, what it said, what happened in the 70s, and how it came down in 2020, and how it took us 5 years or more to figure out what to do with it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Bustamante.
Are you trying to get me in the paper again? Is Mylan here? Okay. I'm going to say what I said before. First and foremost, why are we as candidates, why are the 7 of us here addressing this in 2025? They've had 5 years to fix this. They've had 5 years to do something about this, even after a court order. And yet we're still having to answer this question in 2025. My answer is what it was before. I believe we should put this on the ballot. I believe that voters should be able to decide. We have ranked choice. Let's give them some options. Do they want to keep it there? Do they want to rebuild it the way it was? Do they want to rebuild it with added history? Because if we're going to address the history, we need to address the total history. And I fully agree with that. If it's going to be rebuilt, then we need to address everything that's happened, the whole history of that monument. But let's put it to the ballot. Let's let the people of Santa Fe decide. And then, I know this is a crazy idea, but once they do it, let's actually do what the voters want. What a crazy thing for your city government. But I stand firm in that belief because I believe that the people should be able to decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett.
So being an educator, first and foremost, I think we need to be teaching accurate history in school. I know that since Trump has come in and he wants to rewrite history books and he wants to revise museums and not teach accurate American history, that is not okay. So let me say that first and foremost. Now, about that in the obelisk, I think it's been very divisive for Santa Feans. I do not think this issue has brought Santa Feans together. I think it's actually divided Santa Feans. I think we should move forward with artists and creatives. So many people come to Santa Fe. Why? The art, the creativity, the culture, the languages, the people. We need to move forward together with artists and creatives. And yes, let's document everything that happened. Let's document the history of the obelisk. What happened? Why was it knocked down? The time, when it was built, when all of these events occurred. Yes. A mural, something like that, but let's move forward in unity. Thanks.
Thank you. And Ms. Martinez.
I believe this issue has already come to a halt with the judge saying that the obelisk Soldiers Monument needs to be rebuilt. We need to agree with that, and I'm going to explain something really quickly. How many of you know about Alvord School? Anyone? It is in a historic district. All of Santa Fe is historic. Do we not agree? This is something that's very important to me because it's history. It's my history as a native Santa Fean and a norteña. My family comes from all over New Mexico, northern New Mexico. My family also fought in the Union War. So this is part of my history that everyone wants to erase, and this is what it feels like. Alvord School was painted by a bunch of youth going to school. They were brought together and they were told, go out into your community, talk to your elders, find out about the history of Santa Fe. And they did, and I'm sorry, real quick, they did. They found out and they painted it by learning about their history.
Okay.
That is going to be erased. And that's something that we can't erase is history, all of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to quickly go into our closing statements, and we're going to start with Mr. Trujillo. You have 1 minute, sir.
My closing statement is if you need someone that understands logistics, research and development, solving problems, looking for solutions, looking at different solutions that have been applied and resolved in different cities across the world, implementing things that work, I'm your person. Thank you.
We're going to go back this way. Ms. Martinez.
I've spent years inside public systems, writing policies, managing budgets, and helping agencies stay accountable to the people they serve. That's not theory. That's hands-on experience with the same responsibility a city councilor holds. I've seen how transparency builds trust, how planning protects neighborhoods, and how fair wages and public spaces shape a city's future. I've helped make those things happen behind the scenes, and now I'm ready to do the work for the city of Santa Fe. I want to hear your voices. I want to learn. I want to be there to fight for you as a city councilor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Barrett.
Again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this. Again, I want to thank women who have run for office, who have fought and gone through all of these hurdles just to pave the way for where we are today. And I want to thank the audience for showing up and participating in democracy. So in closing, my campaign is about making Santa Fe more affordable, more livable, and more sustainable. Not just in theory, but in real practical ways that make daily life better for the people who live here. We serve you. We listen to you. Government should be making your life easier, not harder, like they're trying to do at the national level. I'd love to talk with you. I have a website, LizBarrettForSantaFe.com, if you'd like to check out more of my platform. And again, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Bustamante.
So recently they had the mayoral round robin, actually right here in this building. And I met somebody there that night who told me he wanted two things in a candidate. And what he told me really struck home. He said, first, he wants someone competent. And I'm hoping that I've showed you tonight, through my answers, but also talking about my experience, especially in the military and working at the lab, that I have the skills necessary to do this job. But the other thing he told me, and this really did strike home with me, is he wanted to somebody who was going to make government boring again. And for me, that means you should be able to go to the city to get a business permit. And it's not something fun, but it's not going to be confrontational. You should be able to go to your parks and walk around without a bunch of weeds. You should be able to have a bus service that comes up, shows up reliably, and gets you to where you need. You should be able to call the fire department and know that they're going to respond quickly and be there to help you. Let's make government boring again. If you want to know more about me, please go to paulforsantafe.com, and so I can show you how boring I want to make this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Figali.
Thank you. So I have worked for the city of Santa Fe. That is my sort of claim up here. As far as experience goes, I worked for 4 years in the city attorney's office as an assistant city attorney. Prior to that, I worked for the state of New Mexico in the House of Representatives as a bill analyst. I have a lot of experience with legislation, with writing it, with reading it, with analyzing it, with reading city contracts. I know how the nuts and bolts of the city work and what we need to do to change things, make them better. I've lived other places. I know that we have a lot of problems here that we can look to other places to see what they're doing and try to solve. We are the city different, but we're not that different that we can't learn from other places. I'm not from here, but I've been here for a long time, and I love it here. And if you want to learn more about me, you can also go to my website, Pat for Santa Fe. You don't have to spell my last name. It's just patforsantafe.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rivera.
Thank you. I want to be the next city councilor for Santa Fe's District 1. I've worked for legal departments who have called on me to go and solve some of the problems. And when I asked them, why are you always asking me? You guys are the attorneys. They said, because you can see beyond the four corners of the document and tell us what's really going on. I have spent the last few years immersing myself in Santa Fe's business, attending the meetings, getting to know Santa Fe, and as a native of Santa Fe, I get it. I get the intricacies of doing business in Santa Fe, owning a home in Santa Fe. I believe I have the analytical skills that's needed on the council. I believe I have the most budgetary experience of any of the candidates up here, and I have a process mind that can help guide how to move things forward and get things done quicker. My name's Catherine Rivera. I appreciate your vote. Starts next week, and I appreciate your #1 support in District 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Montoya.
I'm a left-wing, woke Democrat. That's it. No, just kidding. I am, but I also have more experience by almost a factor of 10 than the other two candidates I'm going against. in the public sector and also in politics in general. I've served in the Democratic Party at every position except for state chair. I think that's important. I also am a veteran. I'm a combat veteran. And with the way the world is today and the things that we need to prepare ourselves in terms of Trump-proofing our city, you need to ask yourself, who has the experience? Who's been to war? Because that's what we're in, ladies and gentlemen. We are in a war against totalitarianism. Trump today said that he wanted us to practice on our blue cities. We're about as blue as it gets. So the question you need to ask yourself is, will you stand up again? And my answer is, David Montoya, reporting for duty.
Thank you. I hope you all will join me in thanking the candidates. And I'd also like to note and thank our co-sponsors this evening, National Organization of Women, the American Association of University Women, the Justice Council of the Universalist Unitarian Congregation of Santa Fe, the National Association of Colored People of Santa Fe, and the Food Depot, longtime collaborative. Thank you all. You can review tonight's forum on the New Mexicans website, and please vote.